semesters to get this man up here. He's the king of the blues from way back. Ladies and gentlemen, I have John Lee Hooker, the man himself, ladies and gentlemen, John Lee Hooker, up in the studio tonight to do a little interview. John, I'm glad you could make it. I know you took a lot of time just to come out here to North Adams.
Well, thank you very much, John. I know I've been down here for a couple of days now. We're cutting an album a little while. We've been cutting an album a little while. We're going to be doing some cuts off it tonight, I think. What do you say, John?
Yeah, you brought up some tapes from that live album that you were doing. But we're going to get to those a little later. There's been a lot going on with you and James Cotton. I just saw James Cotton the other night out in someplace in Boston.
I think it was Night Flight. Nightlife.
Night Stage.
Night
I think
Stage,
that was.
That's right. What it
and
was.
I talked to James, and he was talking about working with the great John Lee, and you guys go way back. Now, I want to dig up some dirt. Now, what happened to you guys way back down in the Delta in the Mississippi?
Well, there's no dirt to be talking about. I think me and James, we were back down there in Loretta's Coffee House down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, for a little while. And at one point, I was up on stage and I was hopping out, and I heard this gentleman in the audience. He was saying, "You ain't got nothing, boy. You ain't got nothing for a hop." And I said, "Well, shit, I got some hop here." And I was blowing out some chords and shit, and he was just sort of yelling at me, "You ain't got nothing." I said, "Well, come on up on stage and show me what you got."
And that is where it all pretty much started.
That's when James came up on stage and he said, "Well, shoot, I'm just going to blow a little horn for you." And he took out his she-hop and he started blowing some chords a little back and forth, and it was sweet. And I said, "Well, James, I think we ought to get together and play a little hop on the radio."
Now, James was all of probably like 13 years old back then.
He was a youngster back then. He came up and put him on a soapbox. He came up to the microphone, barely reached, and he came up and he sang a few lines and blew some harp, and it was a lovely kind of scene. It was sweet. It was very sweet. I'm as low as I can get. I'm going in slow motion at the moment.
Okay, now you play with James. You've been with him for a long time,
yeah.
and I notice his gold tooth. He doesn't talk a lot about that. I'm wondering where did that gold tooth come from?
In an early gig back when he was about 21, I think, it was somewhere around, I don't know, I think it was Clarksburg, Virginia. He was doing a little show with Big Mama Thornton. Now, Big Mama Thornton, as you know, has 4 gold teeth, but they ain't really teeth. They're sort of like nails that come down from a molar area, and they come out and they're sort of sharp, Well, they were doing a little tune, and I think he cut Big Mama off right in the middle of Sassy Mama, I think, and this is like, she was singing Sassy Mama, Sassy, Sassy Mama.
Yes,
and he came out and said, "Well, Big Mama, you're quite the sassy mama." And she said, "Well, don't you talking to my middle of my song like that." And so she leaned back and she got him downtown right in the middle of the face. Took 2 teeth out.
Just cold cocked him right there, right
in the middle of the face. Laid him right down, man. Had his chrome metal stuck in his teeth. It was so bad. Well, anyway, they rushed him out to the hospital, and they said, we gotta do something about this tooth here. So we brought him down to the dentist. That was after the hospital, and it was at the dentist, and we said, he's a man, he's the one and only. He ain't gonna have no chrome or no alloy tooth.
So he got the gold.
Well, he went with the gold, I think. You're trying to rush me, John. Now, don't rush me. I'm trying to tell an old down home story, But anyway, that's the origin of the gold tooth. Big Mama Thornton gave him a pump.
The Big Mama brought that tooth on.
She was a big mama too. I want to tell you, she peaked them scales at about 320 plus. Anyway.
Big mamas, no big mamas around here. Too many big mamas around here.
Too many big mamas up here at NASC.
Now you were down at the pub earlier tonight checking out the comedy, and you checked out the women. What did you think?
Well, I like a woman that's beefy. I like a beefy woman. I like some hips on them women. But there was quite a few of them, but I don't know, they look a little scary. There's too many of them, their faces, their beards. They got beards, man. No need for beards on a woman. I like beards, on a man, even not on a man, Although my man John here has a beard, and it's quite sporty, I say.
Yes, well.
It is a handsome-looking little facial device.
On the guys, it's looking good, but the women, yes. That I hear that on your new album there's the North Adams blues that you've got, and that is on the
that's
beard
one of my
motive.
cuts. because I was up here about 10 years ago, and I seen some of them women, you know, they've been getting a lot heavier over the years. Some, maybe in 10 years I'll come back, they'll be big, you know, they'll be like, well, I already talked about Big Mama Thornton. I like tons, I like tonnage, you know, tonnage.
We're talking wide load.
Yeah, I like, you know, I mean, when they walk down the street, I like a big ribbon hanging off them so they don't get in the way of the other cars,
Yes,
you know,
okay.
big girls. We don't want to go on about them.
Now, we talked earlier tonight, we talked with James. He gave us a call on the lines, and he said he's been doing some jam with the greatest blues master himself, Mr. Phil Wood.
Yeah, Phil Wood, you know, I got a little story about Phil Wood, but I don't want to take up your airwaves unless you want to really hear the story.
I mean, Phil was a god on campus a couple of years ago. He was at one time,
although he did drink a lot of medicine at one point, but, you know, that was just because the school was providing it for him now. If they weren't providing it, he wouldn't have had that problem.
Yeah, I remember he had notes from his mother.
Well, you know, he had a note. It said, please give my son some medicine, signed Epstein's mother. It was a weird thing because his name wasn't Goldstein. It was more like Wood. It was like Etienne Goldstein, which is a personal friend of mine here on campus. He plays a mean guitar.
Yeah, I hear he's on your new album also.
He is. He's playing a little backup acoustic, a little Fender, and it's very nice. But, you know, we tend to drown him out a little because, you know, he only knows a few chords, so I come in and I go, wahoo! And it just covers him up. You know, we don't hear nothing.
And he did write the Jewish Defense League blues on that new album.
The JDB, as we like to call it here in the studio in the professional league. It was a nice little Hebraic tune. It was smooth, you know. There was a little Moshe Dayan in the background, but it was sweet. It was a sweet kind of tune.
Now I heard he just went to court. He was having a little problems with a woman and a gun, and that was way down south.
I'm not quite sure where that was. I think that was in Georgia. I think that might have been in Atlanta. I'm getting as low as I possibly can at the moment. I think that was in Atlanta. Just outside Atlanta was a little town called Mashpee, I think. And, you know, he was in a nightclub, and he took this young lady back to his apartment. It actually was a motor inn, I guess you'd call it. And had a little fisticuff. You know, he wanted to put on the Jungle Man outfit, and she just wasn't into it. So they, you know, one thing happened, and the bottles started smashing, and the police came, and it was a big mess. But he got off scot-free, I hear, and he's on his way to Montserrat to do a couple shows over in the Lower Antilles.
On the Probation Blues.
Right, I think it's the Probation Blues. He'd probably be doing one of them tunes.
Okay, yeah, back to Phil Wood, though, because we've got a cut here that is with Phil Wood. I believe Phil Wood plays harp, piano,
and he draws. He paints a little bit in the background. He paints a couple pictures, and you know, what it is, it's sort of it's a road tune actually. The title is I Got the Key to the Highway. And that's, you know, Phil Wood's back there, and he's got his oils out, and, you know, he's a terrorist. He likes his medicine.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank Mr. John Lee Hooker for coming up. John, is there any last words that you would like to say?
Well, I'd just like to say that when I'm in North Adams, I like to listen to the Blues Project, also known as the Late Night No Sleep Blues with John Diaz.
That's me.
That's John Diaz. And right now, we're going to send this little ditty out to Mr. Stu Stewart here on Thursday night.
Thank you, by the way.
You're welcome.
Mr. John Lee Hooker is now leaving the station, and I'm glad he could make it up. Unfortunately, my co-host Marty Lyons, who was up here, he got sick. He barfed all over the turntable, and he left. And he did miss this evening with John Lee Hooker. So, John, thanks for coming by.
My pleasure. I'd like to shake the hand of this bearded man. He's a pleasant fellow, and he's got a lot of mellow tunage.
So here we go with Mr. John Lee Hooker off his Boogie Chillin' album with Phil Wood live on the oils. Here we go with Key to the Highway.